Why don't we start off with a cold open, huh? Alrighty, welcome to Taylor's trick-taking table. I'm taking this game out of its protective case. It is the game we're covering today, Open by Takashi Saito. And I'll get into the hook today early. The intro is going to be a little bit longer. We have a lot to talk about. But essentially, this is a climbing shedding game where 2/3 of your cards are actually face up on the table. And everyone is going to be looking at all the face-up cards for every other player and their hidden cards in their hand. And they're going to actually make a secret bid on who they think is going to go out first. And if they get it right, and if they're, one of the only people who gets it right, they'll get points. But then you also get points for going out first. So join me at the table. I'll tell you how to play that game. But also, hey, interrupting Taylor here, I wanted to say before I reveal what's behind my head, I am going to be at Dice Art West. So come on down. And I'm doing a panel on Saturday at 5. I think I say this later, so maybe I'm spoilering myself. But come on down. I'll put a link to the panel to kind of grab a seat in the description. And also, I'm doing like meet and greets on Wednesday and stuff, I think. Not quite sure how it works, but come on down. And also in the link tree, there's ways to contact me if you want to play a trick-taking game. It's a very long con. I think I'm going to be there Wednesday through most of Sunday. So reach out. I'll try to coordinate. I want to play some games. Meet anyone who wants to play trick-taking games, or non-trick-taking games, if those exist. Just hang out and play games with y'all. So yeah, reach out. Okay, on to the rest of the video. Bye. I've been framing my head perfectly to reveal a hidden surprise. Huh? Claude? Look at that. Thanks to the amazing Troy sent me this cork version. They found it at a thrift shop and said, "Do you want this?" And I said, "Yeah, I want that." And they very, very kindly sent it over. It unfortunately, but I think that adds to the charm. So now we have 2 Claudes, kind of like 3 Claudes in a way. Well, I guess that's not how math works. But anyway, we have a nice set. We have a nice set developing here. It's always interesting when I have new people over to my home and they don't know that I make videos on YouTube about trick-taking. And it's a conversation I don't usually have, but things like this help get this space harder and harder to explain, which is something we always love. So thanks again, Troy. And, oh my gosh, before we get to the table, a few things. One, I'm going to Dice Tower West. Oh my gosh. I'm going to be doing on Saturday at 5 p.m., I believe, a panel about top 10 unique trick-taking games. So come on down. I'll be terribly nervous. I'll try to make a joke or two, and my voice will likely crack, and it'll be a good time. Good time for all. And in fact, if you wanted to help out, put in what you think is a unique trick-taking game in the comments. I have some in mind. I don't want to spoiler alert the presentation, but if you had some that maybe I forgot or something, definitely put them down. What's one of the most unique trick-taking games to you? And then finally, oh my gosh, we talked about it couple last videos, but February, we have a GiveaWray for Chris Ray's February. And I reached out to Chris because I was having trouble trying to pick the winner or winners of the copy of February, as someone asked for me to pronounce it in the comments. But essentially, I asked Chris what his favorite month is. Chris is the designer of February. And he said October. So I picked all the Octobers. There were a lot. And Chris actually very, very kindly said, you know what, I have a copy and I can send it to another winner as well. So we're gonna have 2 winners. So it's gonna be James Leake and Landwolf. Reach out to me and both Chris and I will send you a copy, or Chris or I will send you a copy of February. So thank you so much, Chris. I do want to give a huge shout out not only to Chris's games like February and Letter Tricks, but also the BGG Trick-Taking Guild. I'll have a link down below. Check it out. It's growing at, I was gonna say alarming rate, but that's usually has bad connotations, at a very fun rate. But yeah, if you're on BGG and like trick-taking, it's a great place. People post forums and have really fun discussion about trick-taking games there. Okay. Whew. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all are the absolute best. Now, let's finally go to the table for Open. The deck in open is 2 suits, black and red, and it goes kind of from aces to 10 in a weird way. But as you can see, the full deck makeup is on this card here. But so ace through 5 and then 10 have 2 black and 1 red, and then 9 through 6 actually just have 1 black and 1 red. Here we have open set up, so each player is going to get dealt 6 cards, 4 face up and then 2 face down. Then you're going to have 2 cards cut from the game. Then each player is going to get given 2 cards that identify who they are, so blue, yellow, green, and red. We have a setup for a 4-player game here, and on these cards they're going to be the deck makeup, how to score, and then who you are, but also who you're going to bid on to go out first, and a card you're going to use to help choose who you think is going to go out first. So after the deal, players are going to simultaneously look out at the 4 cards in front of each person, and then the 2 cards that they were dealt to them secretly, and they're going to try to bid on who they think is going to go out first. Maybe I'm the red player here, and I look out, and I see this player over here has some high 9s and a 10, and I'm looking at my cards. I do have a 7 pair, because see, I have a 7 red face up, and then a 7 black on my hand. Maybe I'm a little bit nervous and I think the blue's going to go out first. So what you do is you take your bid color, because see, this is my red color, and if we look over at blues, they have the same thing on the other side of theirs. You're going to take your bid and you're going to choose who you think is going to go out first. So if I flip this, I put it on blue, and then I'm just going to flip this, keep it secret, and put it face down. After everyone's guessed on who they think is going to go out first, now, beginning with the dealer, let's say it's the red player, they're going to lead to the trick. So maybe they lead with this 1 red. What you can play in this game is singles, pairs, or 3 of a kind. But what's interesting is it's a climbing shedding game, but it also matters about suits. So even though I played a 2 here, and this next player in turn order has a 3, you can't beat that because they're different suits. So this player would have to play a higher red. So then coming to the yellow player, they could play this 8, or maybe a card from their hand that is higher, but maybe they just pass for now. Then it comes to the blue player, and they look at their hand and they play this 9. So they're winning right now. Maybe the red player passes. It comes to the green player, they play this 10. The yellow player passes, and then this player over here, the blue player, could play their ace. Because, like I said, a little bit in the deck makeup, aces are low and high. In fact, the funny thing about this game is aces can only be played when leading to the trick or onto 10s. So if we circle back here, if someone had an ace, maybe this person had an ace, you can't play an ace on a 9. It can only be played on a 10 as the highest card. So then blue would win, you clear the cards, and they would lead. So again, you can play either your face down cards or your hand cards. Maybe they play, when they're hand cards, they play that 3. When coming to the red player, maybe they play this 8. Everyone passes, and now it's the red player's turn to play. You can play from your hand face up and face down if you want to. Like in this case, maybe this player in the red plays 2 7s. What's interesting about pairs in this game is you actually have to follow suit with the pairs. So if, for example, let's move some cards around for a better example. If this blue player had these 2 black 10s, they couldn't beat the 2 7s because it's red and black. But if they had this red 10, they could, because it's both red and black. And now again, the only thing that could beat this is a red-black ace. Let's say the red player had those. Just to reiterate, in a different example, if it was led to black pair, these 2 3s right here couldn't beat it because it's red and black and not black and black. But if this player had like the 3 black in their hand, they could play it. Or like these 2 4s, they could play those. And then finally, the last thing you can play is this, where again, you can only beat this by a higher triple. Play like this continues until one player is out of cards. That includes both cards face up on the table and cards in hand. For example, the red player is still in because they do have 1 card left, face up, and then the green player is still in because they have 2 cards in their hand. So let's say that this blue player's last card was this 10, they have the lead, and they play it and they're out of cards. Now let's look at the scoring for the game. So if you go out first, as you can see up here, you'll get 4 points in a 4-player game. Second place going out gets 2 points. Third place 1, and the last place 0. And that just changes for the player count. The other way to score is your prediction on who you think was going to go out first. Since the blue player went out first, they'll just get 4 points, and the trick will continue. If they won it, it'll just pass to the next player to lead. So maybe red player goes out second, and then continuing the trick, maybe yellow player plays this, wins the trick, and then goes out third. So then blue player would get 4 points, red 2, yellow 1, and green 0. But then you're going to all reveal your predictions at the same time. Then you're going to see who correctly predicted who shed out first. So it looks like the red player and the blue player both predicted blue. The other players who were wrong, they don't get any points. And then you count the number of players who got that prediction correct, and you're going to dole out some points. So if only one person got it correct, they will get 4 points. If 2 people, like in this case, got it correct, they're going to get 2 points each. If 3 people got it right, they'll get 1 point each. And if everyone got it right, 0 points. Now the blue player has 6 points, 4 for going out and then 2 for guessing correctly. This player over here has 4 points, 2 for going out, and then 2 for guessing correctly. 1 point over here, and then 0 over here. Then you're going to see if the end game condition was met, depending on the player. So in 4-player, it's 16 points. If someone gets 16 points, they win. If it hasn't happened, you'll shuffle and redeal and just keep playing hands. If there's ever a tie, you just play until there is a distinct winner. There's also a variant scoring at the bottom here, where you can get 3 chips, and you can wager those chips on your guess that you'll win dividends from if you get your guess correctly. And that's how to play Open. So that is Open, and wow, look at that cover. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous cover of, I think, giants or people smoking at like a tea party. I have no clue. It's funny that it's not quite indicative of what the cards look like, you know, the backs of the cards or even like the fronts of the cards. I think it is indicative of just how clean it is and how kind of well designed everything looks in the game. I love that it has English rules. It's kind of this small, I mean, it's only 15 minutes, isolation of an idea of what if you could just bid on who you think's going to go out, and if you got points that way, and then also try to go out. So it's kind of like a tiny idea delivered in a tiny package with a tiny, you know, playtime footprint, all that type of stuff. I think it's a very nice, wonderful package game. I know that there's some who think it's a little bit light, and maybe that doesn't carry too much in the gameplay, but I think there's some really cool moments. The fact that you have most of your hand face up is fun, and you're trying to predict what people have, but the fact that, you know, they have those 2 hidden ones can definitely change things up. I like that you can play triples, you can play pairs, so even though someone has a 2 or a 3 in front of them, when they do get the lead with, you know, a 9, or just when the lead comes to them, they could surprise you by playing a pair or even like a multi-suited pair to throw people off their game. There's some fun moments like that, especially when you add that level of bidding on who you think is going to go out. Sometimes there's just like groupthink at the table where someone has, you know, 2 10s or like a pair of 9s or an ace or 2 in front of them, and everyone's like, okay, that person's going to go out first. And so everyone bets on that person. And then when that person does go out first, no one gets any points. So there are moments like that that can happen in the game. And I don't think that's like the worst thing, because then you're just trying to go out like a normal climbing, shedding game. But I think the game shines the most when you kind of counter bet. You know that some people think someone's going to go out first, but you have really good cards in your hands. You bet on yourself. That's a really fun moment. Betting on yourself.
Have you ever bet on yourself?
Oh, that's a good one too.
Pardon like the weird expression, but I love the idea of that, especially with another kind of side tangent about the production. The cards that you use to bet, so like these are the player cards, and then on the back they have 1 of each person. But the fact that you just flip, you know, whichever side you want this circle to be on, and then you flip it face down, and it goes underneath the table like that, and then when you reveal the person you voted for, it's such a fun moment. There's something that happens every single time I play this game, which I love. I'm dealing out the cards, I'm kind of setting it up right, and I'm giving players their player aids and their betting cards, you know, like here's your information, the deck makeup, yada yada yada, and I give them this, and then I give them this card with a hole in it, and every single time players are like, what? There's something to just this component, a card with a hole in it, that makes people so curious and so excited to learn the game. And then it always pays off well. The fact that you explain what it's used for, like, oh, you can bet yellow, or if you want to flip it, it's green, or if you want to flip it again, it's red, or double, triple, double flip, it's blue. It is so fun to see people notice the hole, be surprised, and be like, what? Is this an error? Like, what could this possibly be for? And then see how it is used. And it's like such a clever but simple way to do like bidding on 4 different players. Sorry, I'm like gushing about that thing, but it's so funny. It's so cool too. There's an idea that like table presence always needs to be maybe like a miniature or like a large board or components that look really deluxe or something. But I do think there's something to be said where table presence can just be a really clean look with something a little bit different that catches players' eyes and makes them really want to try to at least learn the game and then play and use it, hopefully. All that to say, the production is super good. I love the fact that they have the deck makeup on the card and the scoring on the card. The deck makeup itself is interesting. I like that there's multiples of the low. as opposed to like, you know, the 9s through 6s don't really have the triples, to kind of value maybe, even though you got a low card, maybe you have probably more options for pairs or kind of those triple bombs. But also the idea that leading 2 of the same color, like 2 black 2s or 3 black cards, lends kind of a power to those lower cards. So even though they are lower ranked, they almost have like a strength to not being able to be beaten by those higher ones, except for obviously the 10, and then, you know, how the aces wrap. I just think overall it does some, I don't know if it's like fully novel, but they do some kind of fun little tweaks in either the deck makeup or how you can lead pairs or what type of pairs you can lead and follow with in a climbing game that make the climbing interesting. It's like following suit in a climbing game, and it's done really, really well, especially because there's only 2 suits. One con is I think it's best at 4 and kind of maybe only at 4. I just liked it the most at that player count. You get kind of that Nikosu dice bidding where, you know, if everyone goes for one person and you get 0, that happens a little bit less. I do kind of like it when there's, you know, at least one other person in the mix that can throw things off or bet on someone else or bet on themselves or things like that. It's really cool when you bet on someone else and they're the next person in line or to play after you, and you can kind of sandbag and pass to help them go out first. It's a really cool moment of control in your bid as opposed to in a climbing game where, you know, you'd always want to play and you'd always want to get out. But maybe you bid on that person and you think, you know, going out second is better if you can hit your bid and then also go out second. So it's kind of an interesting balance there. And it leads to some fun moments when players actually like helping other players go out in a climbing shedding game. Again, the main con to me is sometimes it can feel a little samey just because there isn't too much variety in what the card play can become. The fact that you have a lot of your hand face up and you only have 6 cards can lead to, you know, a bit limiting situation. And sometimes you just get those hands where someone's face-up cards are like very, very obviously who they're getting out first, and so everyone bids that person because it kind of would just be silly not to. And so I think what the game wants to do, and it does it really well, but some players might find it, you know, a little limiting, or maybe the game is better played as, you know, just like a little bit. But overall, I think Open does a fantastic job, looks fantastic, and kind of hits that 15-minute climbing range that I don't really see too often. I think climbing shedding games are a little bit longer and kind of have that meatier, like how do you break up your hand experience. Whereas this one is, you don't break up your hand too much. It's more like, what do you think's gonna happen? Bid, see what happens. And it's quick, it's clean, and it does a really great job. That is Open. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish there was a little surprise in there. Editing Taylor put like a little surprise in there for them. Okay, bye!